Hello, this is Shaylin from Shaylin's Fairy Shop, and a little while ago I made a tutorial on how to make bangles out of guitar strings. And since then I have had a lot of requests for rings, and so this is a tutorial on how to make guitar string rings. So the basic ring is going to look a lot like your basic bangle. Just a bunch of the guitar string wrapped into a wire and held together with some enameled copper or another wire of your choice. So here's the basic ring. You can see. The biggest trick for these is getting them to be the proper size, so I'll teach you how to do that. Whee! Lots of stuff, lots of stuff, lots of stuff. Bangles can be made out of almost any size guitar string, and they can also be made out of multiple. You know, it really doesn't matter, but on rings, it's important to have a smaller string. And now you're going to have to pay attention to the guitar because not all of the strings have actually got that coiling. It's a brass coiling over top of stainless steel on most modern guitars, I think. And so, like this string here, the smallest is, I think it's an E. It doesn't have any coiling. It's just like straight steel. And the B in this instance also is just plain wire. It's the G here that you first, if you feel it, it's got that texture with all the coiling on it. And then, so there's the G and the D, and both of these are appropriate for making guitar string rings. If you're making a ring for a guy, you can even get away with this one. I think it's an A. But this last, no, that's an A. This last string, the biggest one, is never gonna work for a ring. I've never been able to figure it out. So, oh dear, I'll have to get that out later. So I'm just gonna find some strings that are fairly thin. Alright, so once you've got the guitar string, you have to get it ready. You'll notice most of them are gonna have really curly-cued ends where it attached to the guitar, so you're gonna have to cut that off. In this case, it was in a box. When I got it, it wasn't in very good shape, so I'm just gonna cut off this whole squiggly doodad bad end. Now a lot of guitar strings are going to have a bobbin right here. In this case, it just has this metal loop. So I'm gonna cut that off too. Now for rings, you can almost get away with using just half of a string. In this case, I'm going to start out with a full-length string and just cut off what I don't use. You can make guitar string rings the same way that I showed you how to make bangles, which is just to guess at the size and wrap it all together. But with rings, you want to be a little more accurate, especially if you're making it for somebody else. They may have a specific size they want. If you're making it for yourself, you can find a ring that fits you and put it on a fat marker like this Expo dry erase marker and just mark off with a Sharpie wherever your ring is. And then you can use that as a good size for you to figure out, you know, if you want to make guitar string rings or rosette rings. I've also got a tutorial for that. But if you're making rings for other people and they know what size they are, the best bet is to use a mandrel, which is like a tapered stick that has numbers to tell you different sizes. With guitar strings, they're really hard to bend, and they very much want to just pop back into the shape that they are originally, which is straight. So they're quite difficult to manage. And this guitar string is kind of thick for a ring. It's not too thick, but it's fairly thick. So you have to take into consideration the thickness of the ring and the fact that when you make it, you're going to be wrapping the string over and over, and it's going to get thicker and thicker. So you have to take that into consideration as you figure out what size you want. I'm going to aim for a size 7, but I know that with this size of string, I'm probably going to have to start it at about an 8. So what I'm going to do is hold the string on the mandrel and just fold it under like this. And it keeps wanting to lose its shape. So you're just going to squeeze it nice and snug. I'm going to put that close to the 8, not quite. Now, this is the toughest part. It's really hard to fit the string in on the mandrel again, but at this point, the string is not locked into place, so it's just going to want to kind of slide out of place as I take it off the mandrel, but you're just going to have to hold it really tight there where you twisted it together. And then you wrap it, you put the string in, you put it in again, and sooner or later, it will get to the size that you're wanting. It just keeps getting smaller and smaller the more strings that you add. It also gets thicker. Like the diameter gets smaller and the thickness of the band itself gets bigger. So you're going to wrap it around a few times. and check its size. I'm going to want it even more. I could probably have started out at about a 7.5 as opposed to an 8, because I'm having to wrap this around several times to get the ring to be the size that I want. It's going to be quite thick. Let's see how I am now. There we go. I'm at a size 7 now. The next step is to take some wire. This is, I believe, enameled copper. It's 26 gauge, so it's fairly thin. And that's what you really want for a guitar string ring, is some thin wire that's not going to affect the size too much. So just take a strand. I probably cut too much here, but you can see that. Okay, so you see how there's these two little ends here. You're going to want to put the wire in the middle right here to hold it tight, and then you're going to cut this extra string off both ends so it doesn't poke you, and continue to wrap the wire so that the ends absolutely cannot poke. So the first step is to put the wire in about halfway on the ring and just start twisting it around and around. Okay, so you can see here that I've wrapped enough of this wire on that the guitar string is not going to want to come apart. So I'm just going to, this one I wrapped a little too far, so I'm going to undo that. Now, guitar string can be tricky to cut. I'm going to push it up. Whoa, can you see? I'm going to push the string up at an angle so I can get a better grip with the pliers. And I'm just going to come in here and chop it off. I have no idea where that wire went to. And then you're going to do the same thing over here. Just get in there, cut it off. Okay, now this one I have to trim even a little further. Okay, next step is you're going to want to take a pair of pliers, and these strings here that are just sticking out too far, fold them under, squeeze it tight so that they're as close to the other guitar strings as possible. You don't want these ends to poke you at all, so just tuck it in as best as you can with the pliers. And then you just continue to wrap the wire, and you have to be sure that you go over the ends of the string. Alright, well there we go. I've covered the ends of the guitar string with the wire. Now you're going to want the wire to be facing outward on the ring, and just cut it off. Use pliers to fold it over. You're going to want to tuck it in nicely on the ring. Can you see what I'm doing here? You definitely want the ends of the wire to be on the top of the ring. This does mean that you can kind of see the end there, but it also means that just in case the end of the wire comes undone, it's not going to be poking your finger. So just put it on nice and tight, nice and snug like that. And voila, you have a guitar string ring. If you have any questions or comments about this tutorial, you can leave a comment on YouTube or on my blog, or the best way to reach me is my email, shaylinsfairyshop@gmail.com. You can also visit me on my blog, shaylinsfairyshop.blogspot.com, and I share, in addition to video and picture tutorials, I also post a lot of craft projects and my personal artwork because I want to be an artist when I grow up. And then you can also visit my shop, shaylinsfairyshop.artfire.com. It's not just guitar string stuff. I've got, for instance, this is a Lord of the Rings inspired necklace that I made recently that's up there. I have a lot of fantasy inspired jewelry there. And I really hope you enjoyed this. You can always let me know if you've made something with my tutorials. I love to hear back with feedback. So thank you, and I hope you have a great day. Goodbye.